Our guest today is Chris from Chris+Creative. So Chris has worked with Disney, Universal, Hersheypark, and SeaWorld, designing immersive worlds that feel more real than reality itself. And you might know him as the creator of Odd Pie, the escape room that's been nominated 4 years in a row for the TERPECA Award. Or maybe you've played the Bertha game in Gatlinburg, and you still can't stop thinking about it because it's so creative. So today, Chris is here to share how immersive experiences are shifting towards something bigger, better, and more engaging, basically creating movie-like experiences that are more cinematic than ever. So let's give it up for Chris Moschella. Take it away, Chris.
Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for having me. First of all, they tell me it's not noticeable. I feel like it is, so I'm just gonna say I've had allergies the past few days. My eyes half swollen shut. I wasn't punched, I swear. I've come close.
Hey, Chris.
Yes.
Before you continue, D, if you can, put your microphone on a mute.
It is on.
Everyone.
Oh, sorry, everyone else.
Here you go. Thank you, guys. Yeah, I appreciate it. So it's going to be better for everyone this way.
There we go.
Chris's beautiful voice is being drowned out by other sounds.
Yeah, I have to be beautiful in some area. It's not taste right now, so it can be voice, I suppose. So my background, first and foremost, kind of how I got to where I'm at today. Ever since I was a kid, I was a self-professed theme park geek. No shame in being a geek if you're passionate about something. Grew up loving every type of theme park. Disney obviously was one of the things that drew me big time into the industry, but really anything of that like. That evolved into haunts. That, of course, led to travel, and I've been very fortunate to have been to something like 25 countries around the world at this point. I've been to something like 300 different theme parks. The nerd in me, roller coasters has always been one of my big geek things. I've ridden something like 1,300 different coasters around the world. And of course, all of that will eventually lead us to escape games. Professionally, I live in Orlando, because of course I do, I'm a theme park geek. I grew up near Boston. I've lived here since '99. And early on, I was working at Disney and Universal operationally. I did that off and on, what they call seasonally, for about 15 years between the two companies. What that gave me was a huge understanding of operations that a lot of designers never have. I saw firsthand the front line of operating theme parks, like the busiest theme parks in the world. So I understand guest service, HR, training, maintenance stuff. I've put my fingers on all of those aspects when I was working at those places, because that to me was always meant to be a stepping stone. Right? I knew since before I was in high school that what I wanted to do was design attractions. There was never any other path for me. That was the only option, and it was make it or break it. I had to make it work because I had no other choice. So the theme park operations piece of it was that stepping stone to give me that foundation. Did that for about 15 years, but during that time is when I started really into the design piece of it as well, and kind of did both simultaneously for a little while. So this week is 21 years in attraction design, which is crazy and makes me feel old. So I've been doing that for a long time. 10 years of that, the more recent 10 years, has really largely been focused on custom escape games. So that kind of became my focus when I learned what escape games were in 2014, as they started popping up in the United States. I've done a lot of hats. I think that that's one of my strengths. I've worn a lot of hats in the industry. Another that I've worn for just about 9 years now is I founded a website called Escape Authority and ran that website for off and on for 9 years. We took a break after COVID. I actually had planned to kind of sunset it because it was just time consuming, and I wanted to focus on my professional design stuff. But we got so many people reaching out to us over the past handful of months, over the past year, asking us to relaunch it, including venues, that we relaunched it officially in March, and now it's back full-time again. So learning how to juggle a full-time unpaid job, because it is not a website that draws profit, to keep it impartial. But in the process, that's given me a nice perspective too on getting to know a lot of owners around the country, understanding their needs and the things that they look for, and also getting to know a lot of players around the country simply because, people reach out to us and give us their thoughts and, hey, I agreed with your review. Hey, I disagreed with your review. So a lot of that along the way has really kind of become foundational for my design philosophies moving forward in a professional environment. One of the things that I always looked for when we were reviewing games, but has very much become kind of like the main foundation of how I even start to design a game, are 3 key points that I think are critical to making that game immersive and believable. Kind of basically every game has to have these 3 things established in some way. The first is, why does the world exist? The world that you're going into to play the game, right? Because you're leaving the real world, you're going into an imaginary place, whatever it is. So why does that world exist? It has to have existed before you arrived, because there has to be a reason for it to make it believable. One of the sort of keys as an actor is, if you don't believe that your character is real, your audience is never going to believe it's real. And the same goes true with design. If you don't believe the world that you're bringing to life is real, the guests stepping into it, they're never going to believe it's real. So that room has to have existed, the space that game is in has to have existed before we got there as players. That's number 1. Number 2, we have to answer the question of why we, the players, are entering the space. Now, it can be a light answer. It can be a deep answer. There just has to be some sort of answer. Why are we there? How are we related to the world that we've now stepped into? What is our role in it? Because guests want to have a role. They like to be immersed and feel like they're a character in a movie. And then last, why is there urgency? And that may seem obvious, but I'll give you an example that I've used for almost 10 years now. If your theme is a cold case murder, and this murder has been, it's been such a cold case that it's been, 50 years unsolved, and we have no idea, and the police have abandoned it because it's just not ever going to get solved. Jack the Ripper style, right? Why are you telling your guests you have just 60 minutes to solve it? That's ridiculous. If no one's been able to solve it in 50 years, who cares if it takes me 62 minutes? I'm a hero. I did something that no one could do for half a century. So you have to think about these things because they really do matter. And when you do think about these things, your world, your story world, which is an escape authority term that we use, your story world becomes so much more tangible to the guests. And thus it immerses them into it in a way that most other escape games don't even come close to. So those things all really connect to design as much as they do the reviewing piece of it. And they really kind of lend that, I use the term foundation a few times because that's really what it is. Another piece for me is, part of this is because I am fortunate to have gone all over the world and to have seen all sorts of things. With Escape Authority alone, because of that, I've played somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 games, right? At a certain point, no matter how good they are, they do start to blend, right? So one of the things that I set out to do whenever I start a new games design, I want to do something I haven't seen before. Maybe it's a theme I haven't seen before. Maybe it's a style I haven't seen before in terms of a gameplay mechanic or something, right? But I want to be surprised. And thus I want to surprise my guests, the people that are coming to play the games that I create. So don't be afraid to do something that's different. Back in the day, we wrote an article way back when. I mean, I'm talking like 2016 on Escape Authority that was called The 4 Unforgivable Themes. And the premise of it was that at the time, it's not so much the case now. Venues have really started to evolve, and I love that and I appreciate that. But at the time, every venue in existence had at least one of these 4 themes: defuse the bomb, break out of jail, rob the museum, or mad scientist / laboratory or / virus. Every place had that. When everybody has that same theme, why is a guest going to pick that one, right? If they've been somewhere else, why are they going to pick the bomb game that you have if they just played the bomb game 20 minutes down the street that your neighbor has? When you do weird, different themes, as long as you do them well, obviously the caveat is you have to do them well, they're going to stand out. Even if a guest doesn't understand what it is, if they can't relate to it, sometimes that's going to be what draws them to it. So being different, being unique, that's kind of the core of what I look for in design principles. I'm going to give you guys a quick look at some of the games that I have created and been involved in, and just give you the very quickest of cliff notes on each of them, because we're not going to go super deep into all of them. Of course, there's a lot. Let me do a quick screen share. Okay. Austin or Dimitri, can you just please confirm that you're able to see the...
You can see it.
Okay, perfect. So Chris+Creative is my branding. The quickest reason why is I was shocked to find the website chris.plus was available. My name is one of the most common in the world, almost like Mike. So I bought that right up and kind of turned it into my branding, Chris+Creative. So the first escape game that I opened is actually in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, called The Legend of Atlantis. The client asked for an Atlantis-themed game and then essentially had no other notes. You do what you want, you do what you think is cool. So the theme of Atlantis wasn't something that jumped out to me personally. I was sort of like, okay, this could be fun, but it's not really something that I would have chosen. So what I did was I gave it a little bit of an Indiana Jones spin, because that was something I could relate to, and make the guests be adventurers who were discovering Atlantis and finding out what happened to the lost explorer that was there before they arrived. Spoiler alert, he died. He's a skeleton now. You'll find him. Atlantis was the first game that I did, and it is in Myrtle Beach. It was then cloned in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, up near Dollywood as well. The second game I did, even though we're talking way back in 2017, still one of my favorites. It's got a short title. Big Ma Bertha's Fussin' and a Feudin' Moonshine Hill Hootenanny. Okay, I lied. It might be a long title. The spirit of this game is it's a cartoony world that you're stepping into, where it's two feuding hillbilly families. Kind of think Hatfields and McCoy's style story, but if they were cartoon characters instead of, you know, real hillbillies, right? And everything about this is silly and stupid in the best possible way, right? I mentioned to the guys earlier when we were chatting before all of you joined us, I've always said I was raised by The Simpsons. So Bertha was sort of my personality unchained. It's jokes and gags and silliness all throughout. I can't say for certain because the world is a big place, but in 2017 when this opened, I do think that Bertha may have been the first comedy style escape game. Again, I can't, you know, I'm not going to put that on a stamp. I can't say that for sure because who knows what was in other countries. But I can tell you, I had been looking for this style of game for a long time. I love horror games and everything else. I love all of it. But sometimes I just want comedy. Sometimes you just want to laugh. And since I couldn't find it, I created it. This is Bertha herself. She's a delicate Southern belle. Everything in this game takes place in a world where her and her loved one, I guess you'd say, Small Paw Samson, they are now separated. She is trying to steal his moonshine recipe. Paw brings you in. You're the cousins, 9 times removed, so she won't recognize you. You're also dressed as city folk, so she's definitely not going to spot you when you come into her shack. You've got to sabotage her moonshine recipe. So you're actually going to make the moonshine, you're actually going to sabotage it, and you're actually going to blow up the shack. Completely immerses the guest in a way that a lot of escape games back in 2017 weren't doing. Fun fact, and I'm just going to leave this as a bit of a cliffhanger, there is a sequel story that exists to it called Small Paw Samson's Probin and a Prodin Alien Abduction Conspiracy. It takes place after he's left. He's gone wandering in the woods. He's homeless now. So he's wandering through the woods as one does. He stumbles across a crashed UFO as one does. And he moved into it and turned it into a barn as one does. If Bertha is ridiculousness set to 10, Small Paw might be ridiculousness set to 30. It's so much sillier than even Bertha, and Bertha is one of the silliest games you're ever going to find. Next was over in Myrtle Beach. Christmas is canceled. It was a Krampus-themed game. We're going to touch on this in a moment differently, but for a long time, for about 10 years, I've been doing an event, a community event, in my house every year, every Halloween. And one of them was Christmas is Canceled. The client saw it. He came out here during the IAPA theme park design convention I live right by the convention center, so I ran an encore of it for some of my industry peers. And he saw it and he bought it, and we turned it into this thing that started as a community haunt plus escape game hybrid, and we turned it into a permanent escape game in Myrtle Beach. This is another one that he has in Myrtle Beach and in Tennessee, in Gatlinburg, called The Haunting of Hyde House. He had asked for a spooky game, like a ghost-themed game. Again, I wanted to do something differently. Everybody, when they hear ghosts, they expect they're going to jump out at you and scare you. I love that, by the way. Halloween is my world. I live in Halloween 12 months a year, right? But I didn't want to do something I've seen before. So instead of a scary ghost story, this is the story of a ghost who's a little girl. And all she wants is to be reunited with her lost doll, which you can sort of see in the reflection in the mirror there. That's the thing that's holding her in this mortal realm. So to go through the game, you're solving all of these kids style puzzles. They're not kids puzzles. This is an adult escape game, but turning things like hopscotch and barrel of monkeys and things like that into escape game puzzles that are completely outside the box, because that's what the little girl would want you to play. Then next we have The Boogeyman, which is in Pigeon Forge. This one is fairly brand new. It's only been open for about a year. Ironically, it is one of my first escape game concepts, but it only just opened. So kind of illustrates no good idea ever dies. Always hold on to those good ideas. It may just not be the right time yet. The premise with this is that every kid has been afraid of the boogeyman for their whole life, but the parents don't believe them. Oh, you know, you're just imagining it, just go to sleep, right? Well, the kids were correct. The boogeyman is real, and now he's getting more powerful. So now we are coming in as a team of paranormal investigators to try and kind of snuff out and defeat the boogeyman. And the game ends with you actually battling him in animatronic form. So you have to physically defeat him with the final puzzle, and the animatronic will be vanquished in a cloud of smoke. This is, these next couple of ones are newer game designs that haven't opened yet. This one is called The Circus of Slaughter. This is, now about me, I love haunts, but gore and blood, not really my thing. I'm not afraid of it. It doesn't make me sick. I just think it's a cheap scare. I like psychological. I like to do that immersive thing to draw people in. But I also, as a designer, like to be able to have these offerings in case someone asks. So I went all in on this one. This is kind of, to kind of dumb it down. If the Joker from Batman was in a Saw movie, what this is. It's violent. It's gory, there's profanity, it's labeled rated R just because I wanted to do something different, and there's not a lot of that in the escape game world. This one is super cool. This one is called Storm Cellar. It centers around a tornado or several tornadoes that are long track, and it's happening in real time. When I was researching this game, one of the things I do when I sit down to design is I'll watch things that might be relative to it of stylistically, right? So when I was writing the circus game initially, you know, I watched all sorts of random things, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which had nothing to do with it, but just that tone, right? To give me inspiration. With Storm Cellar, I watched a whole bunch of Weather Channel documentaries, including some that were like found footage of people's cell phones filming in real time as their houses were destroyed by tornadoes. This is the only game, and I'm not someone who really I go to sleep and I'm out. I don't really remember my dreams when I wake up. This game actually made me wake up in the middle of the night with a vivid nightmare of being trapped in a house being ripped apart by a tornado while I was writing this game. I sat up in my bed, said out loud to no one, to my dog, this is going to be effing awesome, and laid back down and went back to sleep. And that was the moment that I'm like, oh, this is what's interesting about this game is it's horror, it's scary, but it's not horror in the sense that there's no psychopath. The monster is the tornado. And the whole point is survival. And this game is not about getting out, it's about getting in. You have to get into the storm cellar at the end of the game, right before the house is destroyed by this EF5 tornado that's tracking directly in your direction. This game is really kind of become my baby over the past handful of years. It's my most popular game without a question. This game has sold more times than any other design that I've done. This is called Professor Bleehall's Auditorium, Emporium, and Pie Shop. It's called Odd Pie for short. And we kind of have this running gag of, well, we can call it that, but you can't, to inspire people to defy us and call it that. This is another comedy game like Bertha. But unlike Bertha, Odd Pie is not a traditional flowing escape game. It's a whole new genre of attraction that I created in the summer of 2019 that I branded a create your own adventure game. So the theme is that you're coming into this shop. It's an oddity shop. It's a really crappy oddity shop full of junk that's trying to gaslight you into thinking that everything in here is super valuable. And you have won an all expenses paid shopping spree to the shop. You didn't enter the contest, but who are you to question an all expenses paid shopping spree in a dying retail world, right? So you come in and you play. This game is fully replayable multiple times over. And over time, it's also fully expandable. Every puzzle in this game is a standalone island. I should mention it's a score-based game. Every puzzle is a standalone island. No puzzle connects to any other puzzle. So you never have to worry about, is there an intuitive flow from puzzle number 1 to puzzle number 2 and so on. You can play them in any order or not at all. There's every type of puzzle that you can think of, logic puzzles, riddles, physical style tasks. There's a new style of puzzle that I created called immersive theater puzzles, where you are interacting with a character and the way you perform that interaction determines whether or not you have solved the puzzle. Each puzzle will give you a quote unquote prize. It's not something you take home, but it's something that represents a score that you earn for that puzzle. And then at the end, your score is tallied up. It's hosted by my dear friend, Hubert the Plant. I call him my friend. He doesn't so much. He's kind of a jerk. Hubert talks to you the entire time. This is the anti-escape room from an operational perspective. As we all know from running escape games over time, the whole like mantra of it is kind of shut up and speak when spoken to. Guests don't want you to talk to them and give them hints unless you ask, typically. Some guests, of course, do. Lesser experienced guests love that. Hubert is always with you, and he's always talking to you. Now, he's not always talking to you about the puzzles. Sometimes he's a distraction. Sometimes he's criticizing you, like Mystery Science Theater 3000, if you're familiar with that old show. Sometimes he's helping you. The weirdest thing is the way that kids latch on to this monster puppet. Little kids love Hubert more than their own parents, and they want to talk to him for the entire game. People talk to him face to face, almost like eye to eye, and he doesn't even have eyes. The suspension of disbelief that I've witnessed in multiple installs of this game now is unreal. People accept that he's real, and you cannot tell them otherwise, and they will talk to him throughout the entire game. The other cool thing is there are multiple expansion packs already available for it. So over time, you can continue to add to it and continue to grow it so that there's always something fresh and new in this game. And there's going to be seasonal overlays for it in the future as well. So it's always going to be relevant and fresh and new. We have something called a customer loyalty card that every guest receives when they play. It's like a business card. Think of a Subway sandwich loyalty card, right? It's that sort of thing that lists all of the puzzles in your specific game, in that venue's specific game. And then the guests will know, they'll get those marked by the game master, so the guests will know what they've solved when they leave. So when they come back, they are guaranteed to not have any duplicate. The other cool thing, Odd Pie's in multiple venues, owned by multiple different owners. The puzzle numbers are always uniform. So if someone played puzzle number 1 in, say Michigan, where it is, and then they come to your venue and they pick puzzle number 1, they know, oh, I've seen that one, and they can pick something different. This is an evolution of that. This is called The Zombie and the Witch Doctor. This is one of my newest game designs. It has not gone anywhere yet. Odd Pie's puppet interaction has been so popular that I knew I wanted to do another puppet game. But the thing that was scary about Odd Pie is that was a puppet that I bought commercially. I think initially I found it on Fright Props, but eventually it was on Amazon and things like that. Well, that puppet got discontinued. And not only did it get discontinued, the company that made it went out of business. Now, thankfully, I'm in Orlando, so I have somebody down the street that is in charge of making masks for Universal Studios for Halloween Horror Nights. So he was kind enough to make a mold for me of that puppet, and we are good. We never have to worry. But I never wanted to be in that situation again. So with the zombie game, I set out and I learned, thanks to good old YouTube University, how to make essentially a 3-foot tall Muppet from scratch. Prior to doing this, I didn't even know how to use a sewing machine. I learned all of this, and this puppet that you see here, I actually made that. He comes apart, his limbs come off, multiple things happen because you will interact with this puppet throughout the game. Unlike Odd Pie, not every puzzle is an individual. Every puzzle track is individual. The zombie has lost his brain, and you have to help him find it. Every time you find a brain and you put it in his skull, and they're all like stuffed animal brains because it's all meant to be cutesy, it's not meant to be gory. Every time you put a brain in his skull, the disembodied spirit of that character possesses the zombie. And the zombie will now start talking through pre-recorded dialogue, so the game master doesn't have to do all these voices in the spirit of that character. So there's an English explorer and a French chef and a pirate, for example. And it sends you down essentially a mini game of like 3 to 5 puzzles that are themed to that character's world. So we have all these different sort of appetizer flavors of different styles of gameplay that all connect back to the zombie. And at the end of it, you do find his brain and you remember what he was supposed to do, and it's a little too late now. So we may have a problem with the witch doctor that we have to overcome. He throws out curses pretty liberally. I made a whole bunch of other puppets in the process using the base. This is just some of them, but my plan over time is to start developing other puppet themed games as well, so that I can really have multiple different genres of attractions that I offer. Traditional games, puppet games, games with actors, because I think variety is good. This might not be right for you, but it's right for somebody else. So here's the kind of foundation of that. All of this was born from wanting to do something different, from wanting to do something that I've never seen and bring it to life for guests and immerse them in that way. I've gotten to do some of that with some cool theme park things as well that I'll very quickly show you, because that's not really what this is about, but it is going to tie us back to it, and you'll see in a moment why. I was brought out to be involved in the design of 2 different dark rides, which are if you're not familiar with Theme Park World, a dark ride doesn't necessarily mean it's in the dark. It's an indoor themed attraction in a park or venue. So the first one, it was to be Mad Max, but they were not able to get the intellectual property, unfortunately, became Road Rage. It's set in a Mad Max world. Both of these that you're about to see are for a client that has theme parks in Indonesia. So they're unfortunately very far away. My capacity on this was not the ride, it was the pre-show. I was asked, what do you think the pre-show should be? And I said, well, I'm kind of bored with pre-shows. Nobody wants to see the pre-show. They just want, nobody wants to watch that video. They want to just get on the elevator and do the drop at Tower of Terror, right? They just want the ride. So if we're going to make the pre-show, if they want a pre-show, what if we do something that's never been done? The pre-show for this ride in a theme park is a mini escape game. It's like 1 or 2 puzzles. It's very short, right? Because we need to keep capacity flowing to the ride system. But there are 7 different rooms, and every single one of them has completely different puzzles. So every time you ride, you could potentially get a different room and get a different experience leading up to the ride. And that puzzle is themed to you breaking out of a jail cell that sets up this whole world that Road Rage takes place in. So just to do something that's, literally the world's first, it's never been done that there's been an escape game as part of a theme park ride before. This one, I'm incredibly proud of. I was the creative director of this ride. The full concept came from me. This is officially licensed with Legendary Pictures. This is a real official Pacific Rim dark ride. It's again in Indonesia. The big gimmick with this that I fought for and thankfully ultimately did win was halfway through the ride, it breaks down. The kaijus, the big monsters from Pacific Rim are attacking. Your ride breaks down. You get evac'd from the vehicle by an actor and handed flashlights. The ride is set in the theme park, if that makes sense. It's like a meta kind of thing. So it's a theme park theme inside the theme park. So you crash into another dark ride building and you're having to walk through it. And it's like a monster haunted house style, all cheesy flats and blacklight. You walk through it with blacklight flashlights. And the next thing you know is in front of you, there are these doors that are called crash doors in a dark ride. Vehicle will bump them open as you're going through. And they're painted like a kaiju's mouth, like the kaiju is going to eat you. When you push them open, this is what you see, an actual dimensional kaiju. And it's not in the picture here, but his insides are full of foam, like a foam party that you actually walk through, because that's something from the movie. So the guests walk through the foam. At the other end of it, they get out of the kaiju, the dead kaiju, from a wound in its stomach, and find a big fan that brings them into the Shadow Dome to come back into the world of Pacific Rim. That fan blows that foam off of them. That was not a coincidence. That was a design decision to get the foam off of you, because around the corner, you're getting back on the ride, and you finish the ride. But we themed up the ride vehicle with blacklight treatment so that it reads as a completely different vehicle aesthetically, visually, and you finish the battle. So it's the only ride of its type in the world where you start it, you get off, and you have an immersive theater thing with actors, then you get back on it and get to the climax. So there's just nothing like it. This is a character, a big giant puppet character from a haunt that I did for SeaWorld in Texas. Ironically, the theme that they asked for was Atlantis, which was also the first escape game that I opened. So the first professional haunt that I opened is the same theme as the first escape game. There are a lot of throwbacks to it, like Easter eggs to the escape game in it, that SeaWorld knows about and the escape room owner knows about, but guests will probably never know about. This was a really organic way to kind of bring me back to my roots, because haunts are what got me into escape games in the first place. Looking for new haunts, I found some escape games back in California in 2014. From there, I started 10 years ago. Last year was the 10th anniversary. I mentioned earlier doing this event at my house. It's for the entire neighborhood. We do it for free on our own dime. And it's essentially Creativity Unchained. A friend of mine who works for Walt Disney Imagineering came to it one year and described it the best way I've ever heard. It's as if a theme park attraction exploded in the middle of a neighborhood. So early on, it was outside the house, like leading up to the front door, and just actor interactions to get you your trick-or-treat candy, right? That was basically what it was, just a simple haunt. It, of course, evolved, because that's what I do. I can't ever do the same thing twice. So the first one was the Circus of Slaughter. This one was just a haunt. Colonel the Clown, he's the villain. All of this is going to matter in a moment, and you're going to see why in a really crazy way. So Colonel was the villain of this one, and it was just a haunt with clowns that have gone crazy that's set up in the middle of the neighborhood. The next one, well, these are a little out of order here. This one is called The Harvest. It's set in a barn, so it's more Halloween themed, kind of pumpkins and corn stalks. They are a group of supernatural scarecrows that are literally harvesting victims from the neighborhood and turning them into the scarecrows around their barn. These have evolved from being a traditional, just a haunt, to being immersive theater with scripted character interactions that have escape game puzzles throughout them, like steadily throughout them. So to progress from scene to scene, you have to solve those puzzles, interact with the characters in the right way, and get you moving forward into the world, not only deeper into the world, but deeper into the story. And every one of them has a climax. They're written to flow like a movie. So you become characters in them. This particular one, Harvest, was fantastic. We had what's called a plant in theater terms, which is when an actor dresses as a guest in your group and you have no idea that they're an actor, and they get taken halfway through this show. So not only are they with you the first half and become your very organic hint system that you have no idea they know the answers because they're part of your team, but when they get taken, the villain, this guy who's called the Provider, grabbed them by the ankles and ragdolled them and pulled them out of the room. So it creates this like, oh crap moment where you don't know what's real anymore. Like, that was a guest and that guest just got essentially beaten up. Like, am I in danger too? Like, is that going to happen to me next? Has Chris gone crazy? Is that what's really happening? But of course it was all part of the show, and it all ties together in the finale moment. This is the Doll Maker, another of my absolute favorites. The best component on this, there was a whole hide and seek layer to this, where every time the Doll Maker came into the shop, you had to run and hide. And there was a signal so you would know when he's about to come. And there were places that you could hide literally inside the walls. So there were vents set up at eye level, that you'd peek through the walls, and the doll maker would come in thinking he's alone and give all these almost like Batman villain-esque monologues about all these horrible things he's going to do and how he's going to take over the world, essentially, right? Because he thinks he's private, but you're seeing all of it. And not only does that play into that information, play into things that you need to do when he leaves for puzzles, but you also have to pay attention because sometimes in the process, he unlocks things. So the character is the physical key. There is no key to find for the lock for that door. He will open it when it's time for you to progress through it. There's another level, there's another layer to this game. I designed this one to be 2 games that can fit into the same space at the same time, called the Dollmaker's Pitch Black Friday Special. The doll maker, he runs a doll shop. It's a store. Every store has a Black Friday special. But here it's pitch black. So literally the entirety of the game is in total pitch black darkness. The guest gets one programmable flashlight, like a Gantum torch, that is programmed to be very dim and flickering and dramatic. And they'll use that throughout the show to trigger different interactions and puzzles and interactions with characters. This game was terrifying to the degree that we set it that kids weren't allowed to play it. Plus, the characters also can grab you, so we're not going to do that in the dark with kids in the room. 2023 show is Christmas is canceled. Santa's gone psycho. Santa turned into this monster villain over the years. He didn't get the appreciation he deserved. One of our villains, Ms. Bunny, who you saw in the harvest photo earlier, her origin story is she didn't get the toy she wanted as a kid, so she's blamed Santa. Well, she's slandered Santa so much that people have started to believe her lies. And now people don't trust Santa, and it made Santa go crazy. So in this show, you're actually working with Ms. Bunny to go to the North Pole and stop Santa. You don't know how, you don't know what you need to do until about 3/4 of the way through when you find out that your real mission is to murder Santa for him. And you actually will kill Santa, the actor. You'll poison a real fresh-baked chocolate chip cookie with food coloring dots in a specific pattern. The cookie we turned into a puzzle. So you have to figure out which poison combination you have to use, put that pattern with dots of food coloring on the cookie, and then the actor, before eating the cookie, looks at it and determines if you solved the puzzle correctly or not based on what's on the cookie. There's then a death scene where Santa falls to his knees and takes his last breaths in very dramatic fashion in front of you, and you did something horrible. But you know what? He's a jerk now. He turned psycho, so he had it coming. All of these shows over the years have had a building story arc where I had been planning multiple years in advance, 1 show, 2 shows in advance, sometimes 3 shows in advance, where this is ultimately going to lead. Because I knew that when I got to the 10th anniversary show, it was all going to come together for sort of the big finale moment of the story. So last year was the 10th anniversary show called Creations. We brought in this new villain called the Creator, and we found out that he was behind every villain that's come through here in prior years. He created all of them. It's sort of meant to be a little pushy, sacrilegious, right? He clearly has the white velvet Jesus robe, but the red devil face. We're clearly kind of skating a line there, and that was intentional to make it kind of controversial. You meet the Creator and you find out that you're going to have to go back to the scene of your most heinous crime if you ever want to earn the right to have audience with him. So you ultimately enter through exactly the scene where you left off the year prior, left just as it was in Christmas is Canceled. First, you have to get back into that house. It is now a crime scene because you murdered Santa Claus. So you have to get into that house from the outside and figure out how to break in. I will tell you, the police tape, which is all custom made, has something to do with it for the puzzle. Once you figure out how to get inside, you meet Miss Bunny and pick up where you left off, where she's gloating that she won. Now, here's where it gets a little interesting. We're going to all together take a little field trip because I may or may not, but definitely do, leave this stuff set up downstairs all year because this is my world and this is my passion. And yeah, it's weird, but I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm proud of my passion. We don't use the downstairs of our house. We use the kitchen, which is not part of that, and my roommate's bedroom. But the living room and the dining room, we don't use. The garage, we don't use. So I leave things set up because every year I'll strip it down to the bones and retheme it so I don't have to build from scratch because it's a new show every year. So it's still down there, and I'm going to give you guys a quick tour live. So bear with me 1 second. I'm going to turn off my microphone here and turn it on my phone and take you down for a real quick tour. Okay, can you guys hear me from my phone?
Yes,
Austin, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. Heading downstairs, and then I'm going to turn the camera on so you see it from the right order. All right, let's see. Okay, and so this is the first scene, which is the Christmas scene. So you find Santa, and this is Montu. He's going to make appearances. You find Santa exactly where you left him, except now he's a skeleton, dead underneath the Christmas tree. Everything else is exactly as it was when you were here the year prior. So it becomes this like almost weird deja vu-esque moment. The walls in here are all temporary, so it's vertical studs, but then just fabric hanging between them because this is not meant to be a permanent attraction. Literally a bed sheet for the ceiling. But the point is, there is a ceiling, right? It's a themed space. We don't just forget. We don't just build up as far as you can reach and then be done with it. Everything is immersive because that's what we want it to be.
Quick question.
Rudolph is, of course, gone. Santa has evil eyes because he's sinister. The fireplace is how you're going to transition into the next scene. Now, I should mention that each one of these has custom scored background music, has triggered sound effects, has all sorts of stuff to really draw you in immersion-wise. And every time you open a portal between worlds, because this show being the anniversary is sort of a clip show, every portal between worlds also triggers the next background music file that will give you a real quick, like 10 or 15 second audio pre-recorded intro of here's the world you're going into, and this is your reminder of what it was, and then change the music to that world. We also did this cool thing where we had QR codes that you would discover. They would normally be on this wanted poster. There would be an actual photo of the guest that was in the game. We would find them on their Facebook. Oh, I'm sorry. I just got a notice that Austin pinned, but it wasn't really for me. Your photo would be here when you come in, so you were the wanted one. The bunny would tell you, take that down. We don't need the evidence. And when you take it down, you'd find there's a QR code. There are QR codes throughout the scenes that bring you pre-recorded video interactions with characters that were past actors of ours over the years. They all came back and recorded their characters so they could have these little vignette appearances in the anniversary show. But it also furthers what's going on. So we're going to, the way you would transition is you would actually get through the fireplace, you'd open the back wall and crawl through. We're going to not do that. We're going to go kind of the bypass route. Now, I will preface that normally this room would be pitch black when you're coming into it. Of course, that doesn't work for a Zoom call or for a video call. So I've got show lighting on right now, but this room would be totally pitch black. And there's a flashlight flickering on the carpet. There's a tunnel here that brings you through that's built into the scenic. And this is the doll maker space. So the mood completely changes. And his premise, when you met him the first time, his whole goal was trying to figure out how to bring dolls to life so he could bring his wife back from the dead in the form of a doll. Well, now that we're back, we find out he has succeeded. She is here for better or worse. And you are now going to help them get married. So the whole puzzle is involves you getting ordained and helping them get married, or he's going to kill you. Next, we go into the world of the harvest, which is the barn with the scarecrows. So this space is very big. It's about a 14-foot ceiling. And up here, that back wall can open, and that's where the villain will appear. And you can see his mask hanging there. He'll appear up there every time you come into one of these worlds. You get an intro from the character that'll give you a little bit of an interaction with them and then set you off on whatever objective you're going to do. There are Easter eggs all over the place from past characters. There's some characters that we used to have. There was a horse and a giant chicken that are now dead, and the chicken is McNuggets and the horse is Glue. There's also a Easter egg that anyone who's played my professional games would recognize. Good old Big Ma Bertha is up there hiding in the loft. Her lovely portrait is up there. The doors to salvation are the exit from this place, which I'm going to show you in a second. We're going to actually open those. But first, we're going to come this way and go deeper into the barn where you've got all these scarecrows. I don't know if you'll be able to see the monster that lives in the wall, but that's a throwback to one of the other shows that we did. Excuse me. You'll get out into here, and once you get this open, you're going to transition worlds again, and now we're going into the circus. And we will push our way out this way into the big top tent. So a guest will actually get in the dunk tank and get absolutely soaking wet with water balloons. We have a ball pit full of barbed wire, the mannequin with a TV head. The character can't get here. I can't do a costume change and get here to be this character based on where this is positioned in the house. So he calls you remotely over Zoom. So the clown, his face will appear there on the monitor and talk to you live. So you'll still get those live interactions with him. This room that we're currently in is my garage. When we go back this way, this is the laundry room of my house. And then over here, where we go to the doorway to salvation that I mentioned, to show you how wild this is, this is actually the foyer of my house. So when you open this, it's just the outside and it's a normal neighborhood, and you'd have no idea the craziness that lies within. You find out, I don't know what's happening. Sorry, I'm getting pop-ups on my screen. I'm going back up to my computer now, but you will eventually get up, you'll get access to this sort of backstage area that has a jumble of things from all prior scenes. And you'll have this collection that you've been gathering of these wooden horses throughout. Each one is representative of one of the villains. There's 4 of them. And you realize that these villains themselves are representative of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. So when you gather all 4 of them, you gain access to the creator, which is at the top of this door with this door shut. So once you gain the access, the door will swing open. And you'll have this moment of what's going on because there aren't show sets anymore. It's literally just my office. Like, what is going on? The creator is at the chair, still in his costume with his robe and his mask. And through technical glitches, you find out that the signal has been hacked. He's being made a fool of. And you realize that you're about to find out who he really is. The creator unmasks, and it's me. And I've actually lost my mind. And I've been the villain all along of all of these shows. So it ties everything together from all of these years. It ends with a, once the guests get outside, it ends with a QR code video like post-credit scene where it's me getting arrested by a real cop who is a friend of mine, but actually getting arrested to tell the story of, was that real? Was that part of the show? Like, I have no idea what's going on. So that when they leave, they're talking about it. That's the key, right? Is keep them talking about it. Keep them active. I'm going to switch to my computer. If you'll just bear with me 1 second. I'm going to mute here. Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So all of that to say, the whole point is immersion, right? Give guests a world that they can't go to any other way. Give them something that not only is going to be memorable, but they're going to talk about for hours or days or weeks afterwards. Something that they can only experience here. Something that is uniquely you, uniquely your brand, your business, your venue. That's the thing that this industry has been trending towards for a very long time. Having people step into live movies. The shows at my house started as hour-long shows. Obviously, it's a little different because we don't charge for admission, right? So we don't have to worry about capacity here or ticket flow here or anything like that. These shows here have evolved to be 2-hour experiences that really pace like an actual movie, where the guests are progressing through it the whole way through. Now, can your venue do a 2-hour show? That might be a little tougher, right? We'd probably do a tighter version of it. but can your venue have that level of immersion? 100%. 100%. And the thing that's always the sort of big wild takeaway for me is the tour that I gave you down there. What I do is creative design. I'm the designer. I don't do the build, right? I did build that down there. So can I do the build? Sure. But is that my world? No, it's not my world. The reason I say this is I know that this stuff, that you can build really cool stuff without having $1 million budgets. I don't think that we have ever had a year where we've spent more than 10 grand on the build downstairs, all in. And obviously we have a little unfair advantage of we have props that we recycle through different shows and all of that. But the point is, that's a really attainable number, even for a venue with a small budget. It's just, if you know how to do it and you have that creative vision and you have that creative direction and the willingness to kind of get your hands dirty, you can do really, really cool immersive stuff without having giant Disney budgets. So all of that journey and adventure, it kind of plays into who I am and what my background is and what my passions are. I'm sure that you guys have some thoughts and some questions, and I'm going to hand it over to Austin, and happy to continue to stay with you guys in chat if you have any questions or anything you'd like to discuss from here. Just remember, if anyone is going to speak, you all are currently muted. Thank you for doing that. So before you speak, of course, remember to unmute.
Thank you so much, Chris. Excellent.
I've earned a giant drink of water from my massive cup.
There you go. Okay, so yeah, if anyone has any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat and such. But yeah, very, very cool, Chris, and it's awesome that you've set this up in your house. That's the ultimate passion right there.
No joke, Austin. No joke. The fact that I set it up in my house is what got me the SeaWorld job. SeaWorld contacted the scenic vendor. They invited them to bid on a haunt. The scenic vendor I had known for 25 years because it's a small industry and we tend to know each other. A good friend of mine. The person who owned his company at the time asked him, do you know anybody that does haunts? And his response was, I know someone who has a haunt set up in his living room. And they immediately got on a call with me and immediately offered me, like, we want you. Because the fact that you have the passion to do this, you're our guy. So yeah, that haunt, as silly as it is, it's paid off.
Awesome.
Yeah, I really like the fact how you mentioned that you don't have to have a crazy budget to create something unique and exciting. And some of your games that you've been showing, again, knowing you now for a little bit, it shows like with a little bit of talent and little bit of ingenuity and little bit of some creativity, you can really create some puzzles that not going to cost you a lot of money, but they're going to be memorable, because this is one of the important things that I also believe in, that one of the things that makes some escape rooms different from others, if you played more than 30 escape rooms, you know that they start blending in.
You do.
And so you will always remember one or two games that always stood out. And this is the reason why, because they were very unique, very different, and sometimes it's not about, again, how much money was spent, because I've played some games with a $1 million budget, and unfortunately they were not good escape rooms. And then I played some escape rooms that were on a very, very tight budget, but then you come out of it and you're like mind blown how well executed concept was done.
It's almost equal parts heart and creativity, right? Like you have to be creative to come up with these wacky ideas, but you also have to have the heart to be passionate about it and to believe in it. If you believe in it, your guests are going to believe in it. That's the biggest takeaway, but you have to genuinely believe in it. You can't just say you believe in it.
So I have a question here. So one, Richard has said that what he got from it is we should all set up a haunt in our house. That's the first part.
I'm sorry, say that again.
We should all set up a haunt or an escape room in our house. That's the first point. The second point is, most of us are running businesses in addition to escape rooms. what are the tips that we can do to tap into the creative and unique like you have suggested?
Well, some of it is your experience. And I don't mean that in terms of experience running the business. I'm sure you're all great at that. That's not what I mean. I mean your travel experience. Go and see things. And don't just see escape games. See theme parks, see shows, right? Broadway shows and big productions. See things, because you never know when you're going to get an idea. I went and saw Beetlejuice on Broadway a few years ago while the Boogeyman game was in development. And as soon as I sat down and saw the set, I texted the project manager from Boogeyman and said, don't start production yet. I want to completely change how the set looks because this has inspired me. So you never know. Like I didn't think that I was going to get that from a Broadway show. You never know when you're going to get that type of inspiration to kind of hit you. But having the range of experience to see the best of the best and frankly, the worst of the worst, because there is always something to learn, even in the bad examples, and the willingness to learn that and the willingness to ask questions, those will help you a great deal. And then from there, you have to have the boldness to believe in your own vision. Because if you're doing something that's different that you can't compare it to, that can be very scary. You know, and even I, who's been doing this for 20 years, right? Even I, every time I'm about to open like a show here or a new game or whatever, I always have this moment of thinking it's not going to be good enough and having these panic attacks. In that 11th hour, nothing's ever finished. It's never ready, but it always finishes and it always comes together. And it's always worth it. So you have to believe in that the whole way through. That will go a big way. The trust in yourself to do something different and take that risk.
Yeah, and these days it's much easier as far as creativity side, because I remember when I was starting in 2014, there was so limited amount of escape rooms in a country.
Yeah.
So you had to come up with ideas, and you never knew if it's going to work well or not, and you have to rebuild and you have to redesign and redo.
Yep.
But these days there is so many great concepts that exist and variations. So as long as you're just going to continue like trying different things that's happening, because I have it like routine right now. Like for example, I just recently visited the place. It's called the Jury Experience. Basically, you called for jury duty, but it's a show, super creative, super unique, and so on. And it gives you always like new ideas. It gives you always new perspective. So definitely, it like these days, it's super cool and super easy to find some inspiration.
Here's one other piece too. Know your strengths and know your weaknesses, and know that there is no shame in having weaknesses. I am fortunate that I have a strong creative mind, and that's thankfully always been something I've had. I don't know tech, right? So I'm not going to pretend to do your tech programming. But what I do know are people who know tech, right? So know who your assets are and don't be afraid to call on someone who has a strength that you personally don't have. There's a saying, and my gosh, it is true every day of the week. Jack of all trades, master of none. When you try to be perfect at everything, nothing is as good as it could have been, because your attention is all over the place and you're spread thin. So if you're someone who wants to do something that's like really outside the box in terms of creativity, but maybe it's just not your personality type, understand that there's no shame in that. There's people out there that will do that, that'll partner with you and help you with that. Just like people that you could call on for tech or for scenic or for any other aspect, marketing, right? Any other aspect of it. Know what your strengths are and don't try to kid yourself about them, and embrace your strengths.
Yep. Outsource something that you don't like to do.
Yep.
Focus on what you really like. And remember, a lot of us, we run businesses. So we are in the business of making money. And so you need to focus on what brings you most dollars. You know, there's only so many hours in a day, and you have to focus on what makes most of the money for you. So rest of it, outsource or partner up or find somebody who does it better than you are. And it makes life so much easier this way.
Nice.
And by the way, to Richard, my hope when I started doing haunts here in the neighborhood was that other people would at least put up decorations. They would be inspired. You're welcome, Richard. I can tell you that was not the case. I was told by all of my neighbors after the fact that they're going to do even less decorations because they can't live up to me. And I'm like, this isn't a competition. It's a spirit of a season. Like, anyways. So yeah, I would love it if you guys all do them in your house. I will be the first to come and visit. I wish more people had that kind of, seasonal spirit.
Nice. All right. If anyone has any further questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. And yeah, it's fun stuff. Cool. All right. So we do these calls on a monthly basis. If you have any questions, just let us know. I will be creating a file for this video recording here, and we'll put it up on our YouTube channel and likely on our blog as well. And if you have any questions or you want me to send it to you, just go ahead and text me. And I'm sure Chris. So Chris, your website is Chris+, .plus, right?
Chris.plus. CHRIS.PLUS. It is that simple. And my email is chris@chris.plus. You're always welcome to reach out. I also am a fan of just having conversations with like-minded people. So I don't want you to feel like you can only reach out if you want to go buy something. That's not how I operate. If you're someone who's passionate about the industry and you just want to talk and share your experiences, let's do it. You're always welcome to reach out to me.
Awesome. So reach out to Chris if you have any questions. He does consulting and, of course, all this other stuff. So definitely reach out to him. And super entertaining, as he just explained now, right? You just get this huge mind of information. So, Chris, thank you so much for joining us. That was amazing. Everyone else, thank you for joining us as well. We'll see you on the next call. And yeah, talk to everyone later.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.